Most people are going to completely miss what's happening right now. Not because it isn't powerful, but because it doesn't look the way they expected. Must watch this carefully because the new moon portal of March 18th, 2026 is not loud, not chaotic, not overwhelming. It's quiet, and that's exactly why it's dangerous to ignore. You've seen new moons before, fresh start, set intentions, new beginnings. But this one feels different, doesn't it? There's no rush, no emotional high pushing you to write goals or change your life overnight, no pressure telling you, do something now or you'll miss it. And that's the shift, because this energy is not asking you to become something new. It's asking you to stop pretending you don't already know what needs to change. Right now, something very subtle is happening inside you. You're not confused the way you used to be. You're not going back and forth over the same decisions again and again. Things that once felt complicated now feel strangely simple. And that simplicity is the signal. Because real alignment doesn't feel intense. It doesn't feel like a big emotional breakthrough. It feels clear. It feels obvious. It feels like you've already made the decision. You just haven't acted on it yet. And this is where most people go wrong. They think clarity means they need more time. They tell themselves they're being patient. They say, I'll wait for the right moment. But if you look closely, the moment already feels right. The truth is, what you're calling patience is often hesitation. There's something in your life right now that you already see clearly. A situation, a habit, a routine, maybe even a person. And you know it doesn't fit anymore. Not dramatically wrong, just quietly misaligned. And instead of moving, you stay in that space of almost ready, almost decided, almost moving forward. But this new moon doesn't support almost. It brings three things into focus that most people don't even realize are holding them back. The first is comfort disguised as patience. It feels responsible to wait. It sounds wise to say you're taking your time, but deep down, you're not waiting for clarity. You already have it. You're waiting to feel comfortable acting on it. And that comfort may never come. The second is something even deeper. Identity lag. This is where your internal self has already changed, but your external life hasn't caught up yet. You think differently now. You expect more from yourself. You see things more clearly. But your routine, your environment, your choices, they're still reflecting an older version of you. And that creates a strange feeling, like you're outgrowing your own life. You're not stuck because nothing is changing. You're stuck because you've already changed, and your actions haven't followed yet. And the third, this is the one most people never notice. Invisible loyalty. You hold yourself back. Not because you don't know what to do, but because fully stepping into your next level would change your relationships, your environment, the way people see you. And that's uncomfortable. So instead of fully moving forward, you stay slightly smaller, slightly quieter, slightly more aligned with what's familiar, even if it no longer fits you. But this energy doesn't let that go unnoticed. It brings everything into clarity. Not chaos, clarity. And that's what makes this moment so powerful, because when everything becomes clear, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to pretending things make sense when they don't. You can't convince yourself that something is right when you already feel that it isn't. And this is where the real shift begins. Most people are waiting for something external to change, a new opportunity, a sign, a breakthrough, something they can point to and say, now it's time. But that's not how this works. This shift is happening in your standards. The way you look at things is changing. What you're willing to accept is changing. What you tolerate, what you engage with, what you give your time and energy to is recalibrating. And it's happening quietly. You might notice that certain conversations don't interest you anymore. Certain habits feel off. Certain environments feel draining, even if they used to feel normal. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet misalignment. And that's the signal. Because your life doesn't change when your circumstances change. It changes when your standards change. And once your standards shift, everything else starts to reorganize around it. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to make a dramatic decision overnight. You don't need to push things away. You simply stop engaging the same way. And over time, that changes everything. But here's where people get stuck again. This energy right now is very imaginative. It expands your thinking. It makes you see possibilities. It pulls you into ideas about what your life could look like. And that feels good. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe for daily cosmic insights, astrology updates, and spiritual guidance, because the universe always has a message for you. You start imagining a different version of yourself, a different future, a different path. And for a moment, it feels real. But there's a trap here, because thinking about something is not the same as deciding on it. A vision can inspire you, but only a decision can change your life. A vision moves, it shifts, it adapts based on how you feel. One day it's clear, the next day it changes, but a decision lands. It doesn't negotiate with your emotions. It doesn't disappear when things get uncomfortable. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. And right now, this energy is asking for one thing, not 10 decisions, not a full life plan, not perfection, just one. One thing that you already know you need to do, something that has been on your mind, not for a day, not for a week, but for a long time. Something you keep coming back to, even when you try to ignore it. And instead of thinking about it again, you decide it. And here's something simple, but powerful, that most people won't do. You say it out loud, not in your head, not written down, not imagined, out loud. You say it as if it has already happened. I have this. I am this. My life looks like this. And you let yourself hear it, because there's a difference between thinking something and hearing yourself say it. When it stays in your mind, it feels like an idea, flexible, dismissible, easy to ignore. But when you say it out loud, it becomes real in a different way. Your brain registers it differently. It creates a memory. It creates a sense of identity around it. And that's where the shift begins. Not outside of you, inside of you. Because one of the biggest misunderstandings about moments like this is that people expect visible change immediately. They expect something external to move, something obvious to happen, something dramatic to confirm that things are different. But that's not where this starts. It starts in your perception, in your standards, in what you're no longer willing to entertain. And that's why this moment is so rare, because nothing is forcing you to change. There's no chaos, no breakdown, no crisis pushing you out of your current situation. Everything can look stable. Everything can feel manageable. And that's exactly why most people will stay where they are, because they only move when they have to. Very few people move when they simply can. And that's the difference between temporary change and real transformation. When you move because you're forced to, you're reacting. You're escaping something. But when you move from clarity, without pressure, without urgency, without chaos, It's different. It's stable. It's intentional. It's real. You're not running away from anything. You're stepping into something. And that's what this new moon portal is offering. Not pressure, not intensity, not overwhelming change, but a quiet opening, an opportunity to move forward without needing everything to fall apart first. And if you're still here, listening to this, then you're already more aware than most. You don't need more information. You don't need more time. You don't need a better plan. You just need to respect what is already clear to you, because that clarity is not random. It's something you've been moving toward for a long time, and now it's here. So don't overthink it. Don't delay it. Don't wait for it to feel perfect. Take one thing, just one, and decide it. Because you are not behind, you are not late, and you are not missing anything. You are exactly where you need to be to move forward. And from this point on, everything can start making sense. If this resonated with you, you already know why. And if you felt something while listening to this, that's not coincidence, that's clarity. There's something happening right now that you can't see, but you can feel it. And if you've been paying attention, even slightly, you've already noticed the shift. It doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't look like your life is turning upside down. In fact, on the surface, everything might look exactly the same. But internally, something is different. And the first sign is this. You're starting to lose interest in things that once felt normal. Not because they're bad, not because something went wrong, but because they don't resonate the same way anymore. Conversations feel repetitive. Environments feel draining. Certain habits feel unnecessary, even if you've been doing them for years. And the strange part is, you can't fully explain why. You just know. That quiet knowing is the shift. Because when your energy changes, your tolerance changes. What you once accepted easily now feels slightly off. And it's not loud. It doesn't create immediate action. It just creates awareness. And that awareness is the beginning of everything. The second sign is even more subtle. You're no longer reacting the way you used to. Situations that would have triggered you before don't hit the same anymore. You don't feel the need to prove your point. You don't feel the urge to explain yourself. You don't feel pulled into every situation that demands your attention. It's not that you don't care. It's that you're becoming more selective with where your energy goes. And that's a powerful shift. Because most people think growth looks like doing more, reacting more, pushing more. But real growth often looks like doing less, responding less, engaging less, not out of avoidance, but out of clarity. And that clarity changes everything. The third sign, this is where it gets real. You're starting to see through things you used to believe. Excuses don't feel convincing anymore. Justifications don't hold the same weight. You catch yourself mid-thought, realizing that the story you've been telling yourself doesn't actually make sense anymore. And for a moment, there's silence. Because when illusion breaks, there's nothing to replace it immediately. And that silence can feel uncomfortable. But it's also where truth begins. The fourth sign is something most people misunderstand. You feel a strong pull towards something, but you're not taking action yet. And this confuses people. They think, if I really wanted it, I would already be doing it. But that's not always true. Sometimes the pull comes before the courage. Sometimes clarity arrives before movement. And in that gap, you feel both, the knowing and the hesitation. And instead of recognizing that as part of the process, people start doubting themselves. They think they're stuck, but they're not stuck. They're just standing at the edge of change without fully stepping into it yet. And that's where most people turn back, not because they can't move forward, but because forward feels unfamiliar. And the mind will always try to pull you back to what feels known, even if it no longer fits you. And this is where this energy becomes very precise, because it doesn't push you, it doesn't force you, it simply shows you. And once you see clearly, you have two choices: move with it or stay where you are. But staying doesn't feel the same anymore, because now you're aware. And awareness changes the experience of everything. You can no longer enjoy what you've outgrown. You can no longer ignore what you understand. And that's why this moment feels different, because it's not about discovering something new. It's about finally accepting something you've been avoiding. And the longer you delay that acceptance, the heavier it starts to feel. Not because something is wrong, but because something is ready. There's a moment, very small, very quiet, that changes everything. And most people don't even realize when it happens. It's not when your life changes. It's not when circumstances shift. It's not when something big finally happens. It's the moment you stop negotiating with yourself. Right now, there's a conversation happening inside you, a back and forth. I should do this, but maybe later. I know this isn't right, but it's fine for now. I want something more, but I'll figure it out eventually. And that conversation is what keeps you where you are. Not your situation, not your circumstances, not your environment. That internal negotiation is the real delay. Because every time you say later, you reinforce hesitation. Every time you say maybe, you weaken clarity. And every time you say I'll figure it out, you avoid deciding. But here's the truth most people don't want to accept. You don't need to figure everything out. You just need to stop pretending you don't already know. Because you do. You know what feels right. You know what doesn't. You know what you've outgrown. You know what keeps coming back into your mind, no matter how much you try to ignore it. And this is where everything shifts. Not when you find a better plan, but when you stop delaying the obvious one. Because the power of this new moon portal is not in giving you something new. It's in removing the noise around what's already clear. And once that noise is gone, there's nothing left to hide behind. No more overthinking, no more waiting, no more pretending, just truth. And truth demands a decision. Not a perfect decision, not a fully planned decision, just a real one. Because the moment you decide, direction changes. And once direction changes, everything else begins to follow, slowly but inevitably. And this is where most people make a mistake. They think the decision has to feel big, confident, certain, but it doesn't. Sometimes, the most powerful decisions feel quiet, simple, almost underwhelming, because they don't come from emotion. They come from clarity. And clarity doesn't shout, it doesn't rush you, it doesn't overwhelm you. It just sits there, waiting for you to acknowledge it. And once you do, there's no going back, because you can ignore your intuition, but you can't unknow it. And that's why this moment matters, because right now, you're not being pushed. Space to step into something without needing everything to fall apart first. And that's rare, because most people wait for discomfort to force them into change. But you don't need that anymore. You don't need things to break to decide something better. And that's the opportunity. A clean shift, a clear decision, a quiet step forward. that changes everything over time. So don't wait for a sign. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Because if you're listening to this right now, you already feel it. And if you feel it, that's enough. Take one thing, just one, and decide it. Not tomorrow, not soon, now. Because this moment, this exact moment, is where your next chapter begins. And whether you move with it or hesitate again is entirely up to you. But deep down, you already know what you're going to do.